This is the story of Spaceballs, not the movie. Spaceballs is where I got the name for my character, Spaceballs, who is a Tauren Warrior. I'm going to tell you about his adventure up to level 80, and hopefully we'll see some friends, some enemies, and we'll get some fat loot. This is the Tauren Crest. It represents individual members of our tribe. The axes represent our warriors. The totem and various feathers hanging off it represent our druids, and the shamans are represented by the pipe hanging off the middle. We Taurens are a very nomadic people. This is where we have finally settled after finding our place in the plains of Mulgore. This is our city, Thunderbluff. This is where I go to get my warrior training, and this is also where our chieftain lives. You can actually see it's accessible down at the bottom by Zeppelin and elevator. This is the Barrens. In a game that was 1 to 60, you could get almost a third of your levels here. You usually start off in the crossroads in the middle, and you go down and the enemies get tougher and tougher. Speaking of which, this is me being killed by those ancient enemies I had mentioned, centaurs. This is why they're enemies, and it's also a shame because, we're nomadic people, so we get up and move, and then they get up and move with us. What are we supposed to do? This is my first instance where I fire Chasm. I did not want to tank this. I wanted to damage it, but at such low level, a tank doesn't necessarily matter. So they made me tank it. It was the first time I ever tanked. I didn't care for it. Terrible experience. So after I was done with that, I decided it was high time to get my professions. I am a blacksmith and a miner. I chose those professions because I'm a warrior and I wear plate armor, so at higher level I'll be able to craft my own armor. And mining because I want to be able to gather my own metals instead of having to buy them from other players. This is the dark portal where we get to level 70. As you can see, there are demons, and the final boss of this is a demon. This leads out to Hellfire Peninsula, where there's a PvP story that I will tell next, and where we also get flying for the first time. This is where that PvP story happens. I do not care for PvP. I am a PvE person. I like to do player versus environment, not player versus player. I got killed right there in the middle where that middle flag is in the middle of the screen. And that's why their flag is there. But this is where the main adventure happens. Here in Northern, when we get to level 80, we start off in the Bahrain Tundra, and Northern's going to be a great place because the questing's great, there's going to be great dungeons, and fat loot to be held. This is the first dungeon that I did in Northern. It's called the Nexus. The final boss is a dragon, which was kind of cool because I had never fought a dragon in this game up to that point. And this is another dungeon that I was made to tank because you can't find tanks. And then we did it. We get to level 80. We're here in Dalaran. It's time to play the game for real. We're going to do dungeons and heroics and meet up with some friends of us to do Ice Crown Citadel. It's going to be a great time, and then that person in the back is going to rob me. This is the Culling of Stratham, and this is the first dungeon that I did where I didn't necessarily want to tank it, but I volunteered to tank it out of my own will. I was not made to tank this. And the Drake and Shield is what we got from out of that. This is that person robbing me, as I had mentioned back at level 80. As you can see, it costs 5,000 gold, and well, I only got 35. So it's time to go hit the mobs. We're going to go kill mobs, and we're going to go do dungeons because I can't do the auction house. This is where we finally get to what I call the official change to tank. This is where I embrace my life as a warrior, as a plate armor, where this is what I have to do and this is my life. So I activate it, and then this is someone I went and tanked with, Tim is Beast Jr. I have a character named Tim is Beast, and this is my friend mocking me. I actually ended up getting the last laugh because every time he logged on, everybody would assume he was related to me in some way, whether it was son or brother or anything like that. And this is the raid we went and did. This was the apex of Northern. This was Ice Crown Citadel. And this is nostalgic place. I mean, even 10, 15 years later, people are still talking about the gear appearance and the fights. These are some allies that help us along the way in Ice Crown Citadel. The big guy in the middle is High Lord Tyrion Fordring, and then everybody else around him is warriors. We got the guy in the thorn shoulders is Garrosh, and in the orange or red is Sarufane. This is us, quote unquote, beating the game. We did it. The bad guy is dead. That guy over there screaming, "No, Arthas," is the big guy in the previous slide. And, well, like I said, we beat the game. But that's not the end of the adventure, folks. That was simply the beginning. There are many more adventures to be had, and hopefully they will be had. That is the story of Spaceballs, champion of the frozen wastes.